On behalf of the Institute for Leadership and Strategic Foresight, welcome to So You Want to Be the Chief, a podcast for leaders.
What a great day, man. Things are happening all over the world, and I am in touch with one of I call him a fairly new brother because we met, I don't know, maybe a couple of years ago online, Chief Master Sergeant Henry McRoberts. Mac, how are you, man?
I'm doing well, doing well. Blessed and highly favored. I truly appreciate you. And thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to share this moment with you. It's been a long time coming. I know schedules, especially now that we're on two opposite ends of the world. But as you can see, brotherhood has no limits. And we
Indeed.
reach to each other and we make it happen regardless of the circumstances. So very happy to be here.
Yeah, well, if you would quit moving, man, like where are you at now? Well, I'm in Japan. PCS, yeah. Okay, so where are you now? Well, I'm in Belgium. When did you do that? It's like, man, a world traveler, but that's okay. I guess you're learning, right? Either that or you're getting fired. That's not it.
No, oh yeah, no, those definitely learning opportunities and leadership opportunities all being presented at the same time. So I'm one that never shies away. So when a challenge is presented to me and opportunities presented to me, I get after it. That's how we're
Yeah,
raised.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
And I'll tell you, Mac, I tell people this all the time, and some people think I'm messing with them, but you know the truth. If you hang with the chief, you get promoted. And that's what
it's
happened,
facts.
right? Just well, you've been a chief a year, a little over a year.
It'll be a year in September.
Okay. And just prior to that, when we got connected and got that, you mentoring me and all, then, that's what happens. You hang with me, man, you're going to get promoted. Now, you just better be careful what the next step is.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just gotta remain mindful. That's truth.
That's right. Well,
That is truth.
congratulations, man. We hadn't seen each other in all this time, so congratulations. I'm proud of you, and I know you're doing some great stuff. Or else you wouldn't be moving every 15 minutes or whenever. Because you just left Japan, right? Weren't you there just a year and a half ago?
Correct. Yeah. So yeah, I was leaving out of Hill Air Force Base. This was February 2023 is when I arrived on the yard out there at Misawa. Was signed up for an extended long tour with my family. So we were looking at doing 4 years in Japan. But was getting after the mission. Some folks sought favor. More particular, some chiefs sought
Yeah.
favor in me, saw some of the things that I had the ability to do and serve in the next capacity. Ended up getting that promotion to chief. And of course, with that, sometimes cuts an assignment short, no matter how much you love it, because at the end of the day, the Air Force needs you to be somewhere else to help make things great for another organization. So yeah, a whole solid 18 months I spent in Misawa prior to getting this assignment out here at Kleine Brogel Air Base in
Yeah.
Belgium. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, whether you like, number one, Mac, I take credit for all of your success, just so you know that. So you can just
That's
say, yeah,
fair.
it's a chief, man. Because I say, hey, Mac, yeah, I know Mac. He's my boy. But uh, and I'm glad you're saying what you're saying, Mac, because and I don't know what it is anymore, how it is anymore. But back in my day, man, some chiefs were not they were reluctant to take an assignment.
Mhm.
In 31 years that Deb and I were together or in the Air Force, we did 17 assignments, which means
Mhm.
I took it. Uh, Chief Master of the Air Force would call and he'd say, Bob, we need you to go someplace. Okay, man, just give me enough time to sell my car, and I'm on my way. You know, and
Absolutely.
and that's the way I always thought. Wherever the Air Force needs me, I'm going to go. And
Yeah.
interestingly, people even to this day ask me. Just happened last week. What was your favorite assignment? The last one, the one I'm on. That's
Yeah.
my favorite one because you put that stuff behind you, you go to the next one, and like you said, you do your best to make the mission, to accomplish the mission, to help others grow. So I'm
Absolutely.
glad you say that because there's some people that homestead, I think is a term that we used to use. They want to
It's
stay.
still relevant today.
Is
It's
it
still relevant today. Absolutely.
that sucks, man? I think, and that's wrong. I think that's my opinion. I was at a base. I won't mention it offhand because some people would know. But half, maybe most of the chiefs that were there, Mac, had been there 20 years, never
That's tough.
PCS. Can you imagine that? It's like
That's tough.
I had never heard of that. But when I arrived and I was the senior enlisted advisor, and I was a young pup, and I had to come and lead these old guys who had homes and jobs off base, and it's like, wow, 20 years on station. But that's the way it goes. That's the way. Not judging. That's just the way it goes. So,
Absolutely.
so now, how long have you been in altogether? Because you're a baby chief.
So altogether, yeah. So altogether, I'm sitting at 23 years. So joined back in January 15th, 2002. Weapons loaded by trade, 2W1, good old load toed. For probably in your time, they were referred to as 4.62s. So you saw your weapons loaders. Yeah. This will be assignment number 11 for me. Worked in both functional and institutional capacities, to include being a T prefix instructor down at Shepherd Air Force Base for 4 years, and also had the esteemed pleasure of being a diamond wearing first sergeant for 4 years out of Tinker Air Force Base, prior to making all the other moves back in my career field, which brought me to where I am today.
Yeah. Now you mentioned Shepherd, and what I remember about Shepherd, there used to be a little roach coach. I don't know if you remember that term. That it was a little food truck, I think is what they call it, right outside the gate. Made the best tacos in the world, man. And I'm Latino, I'm Hispanic, so I know what a taco is supposed to taste like. It was the best in the world, man. But
absolutely.
So big props to them if they're still there. Anybody at Shepherd, go have some tacos and tell them I sent you, the ruggedly handsome chief. They'll say, "Oh yeah, Vasquez." So anyway,
that's it.
A good experience, a good year as a chief.
I would say a good year, right? I had one of my chief mentors tell me that it's every day is a good day to be a chief, but just some days are going to be better than others. I think, and I don't think that statement could be more fitting. In my first year of growth, my first year of some very pinpointed feedback of some things that I'm doing awesome as a chief, just based off of the raising from supervisors that raised A1C McRoberts that got me to where I am today, to some things that, to the feedback that kind of pinpoints the whole, what got you here is not going to get you there, right? So now at the chief level, it's now my responsibility to kind of take things to that next level and delve a little bit deeper in what it truly means to be a chief and what it truly means to make sure that I'm taking care of all the people inside my squadron. So a solid, I say all that being said, it's been a solid year of just good learning and good growth. I will say that.
Yeah, if I remember right, and when did I put on chief? 1991. Were you born then?
Yes, I was. That would have put me at 8 years old.
Okay, all right. So be respectful. Mom and them taught you to be respectful to your elders, so be respectful.
Absolutely,
okay?
Absolutely.
But in those days, and this is the way I was brought up, Chief, that my job, we used to say this a lot, and especially in PME, as a chief, your job is to work yourself out of a job, to teach that senior and the master, everybody else, how to do your job so that you can move on and do another thing. Is that still prevalent? Is that as a new chief, did someone tell you that, hey, teach the next guy so you can move on?
I know that lesson is still relevant in today's Air Force. I mean, and that's been one of my hugest tenets, even as a young staff sergeant, as a supervisor, was not necessarily delegating my responsibilities to my airmen, right? And even now as a chief, it's not necessarily so much about delegating, my responsibilities to my senior NCOs, but that empowerment is the appetite suppressant, if it makes sense, right? You have senior NCOs who are consistently hungry every single day to find new opportunities to grow, find new opportunities to make the Air Force better than how it was handed to them. And really and truly, the only way that we're really going to afford our senior NCOs that opportunity is if we continue to feed them. And in my personal opinion, feeding them is that level of empowerment, right? So there's a lot of things that I'm in charge of in regards to UMDs, manning documents, right? Manning moves, so on and so forth, right? And so I'll host these meetings with my senior NCOs, but it's my meeting, right? It's the chief's meeting. However, I'm looking for that level of advisement. That advisement and that empowerment goes to my senior NCOs inside those meetings to let them know that, one, I'm not the chief that's going to be responsible for making decisions in a vacuum, that this is going to be a collective effort because ultimately I know who this impacts, right? I go home at the end of the day to be with my family, or I go home at the end of the day to do some of the things that I want to do. But I need to make sure that my senior NCOs are also afforded the opportunity to do the same. And with that, it comes with those decisions to make sure that they're doing everything in the best interest of their airmen, and also making sure that they're doing the best things for themselves. So when you empower your senior NCOs to be able to get a little bit more involved in the mission, to be a little bit more involved in those decisions and have that say, absolutely, right? And you're absolutely correct. I could empower them to the point to where they're like, well, we don't even know why the chief is even here. Like, we got this, right? And you can take it in one of two ways, right? Okay, well, maybe the squadron didn't need a chief, or man, that leader is creating more leaders. Like, that's what I'm here for. I mean, even if I do my 30 years, Bob, like, I'll only have 7 years left. So this is no longer about me receiving, but it is all about me investing and continuing to plant those seeds and continue to make sure that those seeds are growing across the Air Force no matter where I go. So no, I think that still remains relevant in today's Air Force for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's always been tough, Chief, to know where the barriers are. You know, how far do I move back and let them do stuff and let them fail?
Right.
You know, a lot of people will say that you learn more from failure than success. I think that's crap. But nonetheless, the failures will help a little bit and guide a little bit. But if you don't ever fail, and Zig Ziglar said, failure is an event, not a person. So you learn from that particular failure to be a better person, a better chief, a better whatever, and that's okay. You know, do the assessment and get it right. But sometimes it's tough, you know, I don't know you well enough, but I think most chiefs are type A personalities. They know enough that they would rather do it themselves because it's easy. Move over, stand aside. Let me show. No, man, there's no learning in that. You know, and especially if you do it a lot, eventually those youngsters depend on that. But no, I don't need to do it. I don't need to learn because the chief's going to do it. And then that's working backwards, you know, and you don't want that.
It's true.
You know, you want to be able to be gone on leave, like leave, no kidding, leave, First Sergeant. I know you had that conversation a million times while you were still in the office in civies. Leave. No, man, you got to go away. Let things happen and trust that the youngsters that you taught them, you know, and especially if you led them right, if you taught them right, they got it.
Right.
They got it.
Correct.
And they're all chomping at the bit, man. You know, especially, I think we were all that way. I could hardly wait to be a chief. But all of the youngsters that we lead, they're chomping at the bit. Boss, let me play, man. Put me in, coach.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
teach them, train them, enable them to do it, and then move out of the way.
100%. Yeah. And so with that level of empowerment also comes an extreme level of a process, right? It's not that just like you were saying, to your point, like senior NCOs are not always going to get it right. Right. But as a chief, I have to be able to have the patience. And sometimes our Air Force is moving fast. We're ever changing, we're ever evolving. And sometimes patience is not necessarily in that formula when we speak about execution, but there still has to be a level of patience that you have to have within yourself as a chief. As you continue to invest in your senior NCOs, as your senior NCOs are working through this process, they're not going to figure it out as fast as the chief is, but you know that they're going to get there so long as you're there guiding them and giving them those left and right parameters. So I think where we kind of fall short is the patience piece. Like, just like you say, like, oh, I don't have time to wait on you. I know the answer. I'm gonna get it done, and we're gonna move forward. But who learns, right? You knew the answer while your senior NCOs didn't, right? An opportunity for your senior NCOs to grow was robbed because the chief has to step in every single time, and that's not necessarily the case. What I try to look to is to have my senior NCOs have the ability to be able to use my voice, right? Yeah. If my voice is needed, if my voice is warranted to kind of help things move at a little bit of a faster pace, 100% all in. But senior NCOs have the ability to do, and they have the ability to execute. We have to have trust in that process. We have to have patience with that process in order for them to be able to execute the way that they need to. So that's important.
And especially when and we all do, Chief, we all fail. But when you fail, if you know that and it doesn't have to be the chief, but at least since we're talking about chiefs, the chief's got my back. I can mess up, and it'll be okay because the chief's got my back. He's not going to let me. And I don't think the enlisted force is as bad as the officer force, because I taught at the academy, so I know the officer force pretty well, probably better than enlisted anymore. But the officer corps has always been and always will be a one mistake Air Force. I don't care what they say. You can plaster it wherever you want. It's all a lie. It is a one mistake Air Force. That's their system. With us, at least we can recover if we make a mistake. But I think there's still a lot of value, especially you new chiefs who are worried about, man, but what if I go to bat for this guy and I get bashed? Well, too bad. When I growing up, and it's funny when I tell this story, it's been on this program for a bunch of times. Chief Gwaltney. People ask me, what was his name? What was his first name? I have no idea. Chief. That was his first name.
That's how it goes. Yeah,
that's it.
Yep.
He took me aside and he said, Bob, if you want to be a chief, you got to be willing to get your butt chewed at least once a week. And that's true. I mean, that really is.
Yes.
You got to be willing to go in there and not argue or not fight with the boss, but correct the boss, guide, because and here's what I think maybe not all chiefs get back is that you're working for the upper level as well as the younger level, the bottom level.
Correct.
You're helping everyone, not just the enlisted people. Now, even as I was a senior enlisted advisor back 100 years ago, and people would ask me, so who do you advise? Everybody. I don't care who it is. Now, I work for the one star, the general, the wing commander. That's who I report to. But it doesn't matter who it is. Colonels did that, got yelled at by colonels, thrown out of offices and all that kind of stuff, as well as enlisted stuff. But as a chief, that's what you got to do. You got to be willing to take that crap and get hit, but I think the point that I was making is with those, especially with the more subordinates, if they know the chief's got my back, man, then they can do whatever they need to do. They're not afraid that they're going to get bashed and thrown out or whatever.
Right.
Now if it's egregious, murder or something crazy like that, that's a different thing. But on a regular basis, you make mistakes, you grow from it, and the chief will help you, and he won't let anybody. I had it's in the book. One of my favorite stories about a colonel coming in and yelling at my lieutenant, and I pulled him to the side. I said, "Sir, don't you ever do that again. Don't ever yell at my lieutenant." And because they know, I ain't gonna mess with the chief. I don't know what he might do to me, but most chiefs are not afraid to wear orange. I would look good in orange, Mac. When you're ruggedly handsome, you look in everything, man. You look good.
And that's what it is. It is what it is. Absolutely, absolutely. No, but no, you're absolutely right. So I'll share with you, especially my first. I would give you almost the first 60 to 90 days of this organization. I did get the mission. I did get the vision, right? I had small immersions. So in my unit holds upwards of 21 different specialties, from everything from custody forces to maintenance to services to administrative to postmasters, medical, cyber. I have all these different AFSCs. So I'm just a good old fashioned 2W1 guy that I just put bombs on planes and turn bad guys to pink mist. And now I am being charged with learning all these different things, right? And so I did do small immersions with every single one of those respective flights. But to your point, the most important thing for me and for my airmen, before I delved too deep into their mission, was to first get their buy-in. That was very, very important to me, right? If I would have just hopped off the plane, showed up to my unit and high-five my team one day, and then the next day I'm like, all right, let's talk mission. Let's talk mission. Let's talk mission, right? My airmen would be on board and they would comply simply because they're having the conversation with the chief. But in the back of their mind, they're like, I'm telling you about my mission, but I barely know you. I don't know you, and I don't know exactly what your values are, what you stand for, what you advocate for, and so on and so forth. So those first 60 to 90 days were really me taking an opportunity to make sure I established a strong rapport and gain the trust of my organization first, right? So they know that regardless of the circumstances, win, lose, or draw, I'm going to make the right decision. I say I'm going to make the right decision. There might be a decision that I might believe is right. It might not necessarily be right in the eyes of others, but I'm going to make a decision, but I'm going to do it in the best interest of the squadron. That was important for me to be able to establish that rapport with my team. And then once I had that rapport with my team, then I had the opportunity to get a little bit more inside the mission. The conversations with chief are not as uncomfortable because the only time I talk to my chief is if it has something to do about today's tasking, right? I actually have the ability to have a sidebar conversation about my airmen, spouse, children, future travel plans, future goals, personal and professional development. So they now see that this chief is more than just the mission. This chief is about everything that involves me while we are in the execution of that mission. So, so I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they're not going to follow you unless they trust you. And
that's facts.
They're not going to trust you because AFI says trust the chief.
That's facts.
If it was that easy, we would have an AFI that said trust the chief. It's not going to happen. Now, in the short time that you've been doing a great job, Mac, have you messed up anything that a chief coming behind you should probably know? Don't do that. Just one, not all 8 of them. Okay, just one.
Yeah. Okay. I'll lean to one, and I think I can sum it all up in one, and it's just making sure that you go through your processes with a fine-tooth comb and make sure you meet your timeline suspenses. So my timeline suspenses aren't the worst, but they're also not the best. I could do a whole lot better, right? And I'll tell you, when you talk about getting your butt chewed, at least once a week, I'm at 3. I'm trying to get to just 1 a week. So hopefully we'll eventually get there. But it's all for good things, and it's all, again, like I said, it's all great learning opportunities. Another thing that I really believe that I mess up that kind of makes me ineffective, and I believe young chiefs really need to get after, is just making sure that they set very clear and concise management expectations to their teams, right? There's been many a times that I've sat in a room and inside my brain, I've thought it all the way completely through. And my brain will sit there and say, well, all I have to do is tell my team ABC and they'll take care of D, E, F, and G, right? And that's not necessarily the case. Like, you really need to set the tone. You need to be the Bob Ross of your mission and your vision. You need to paint that solid picture to your team so your team understands exactly what the intent is, and also to ensure that intent aligns with your commanders, right? You probably find more often than not that that's what probably gets me hemmed up on most things more than anything else, is not really thinking it through and making sure that I have the ability to strongly articulate a message to my team, which is something that I get an opportunity to do every day. So I get the reps. I definitely get the practice to do that. So that was my thing. So.
Yeah, and here's where I think maybe we could do better as well, Chief, is ask them, what do you know? We assume, and you're in overseas, you're in Belgium and all that stuff. So you assume that all of the troops, whether they're Air Force or whatever, all the different forces, that they know stuff because the reg says they know stuff, right? They have a 5 level, and these several things. No, that's not true. They went to the class, they took the test, they passed the class. They passed the test. That doesn't mean they learned anything, and that doesn't mean that they remember anything. So I think there's a lot of value in asking, and if you can individually. Now, I always say, how many people do you have in your squadron?
As of right now, I'm currently sitting at 152.
Okay, that's a lot of people. You're lucky if you can lead 4. Truly, and 4 is it's a sacred number in my culture. So that's as far as I go. But if you can lead 4. Who can lead 4, exponentially, you're leading 150 people pretty quickly. But that way you can focus on those 4 and do it well, and ask them, what do you know, and what do your people know? Does Joey down, 3 levels down, know all of the stuff that he's supposed to know or she's supposed to know? They would have a better idea than you, which is okay. That they should, But I think a lot of times we assume that they know stuff when they don't know it. And the other thing is, and you know this, you're a first sergeant, you know this, you got to speak their language.
Yes.
You down with that?
Oh, yeah.
Straight up.
Groovy. Straight up.
Groovy.
You're
not responding to groovy, man. Groovy is cool, okay?
You gotta. I get it. I'm with you.
Right on.
That's it.
You have to speak their language. Otherwise, you can talk all you want thinking that they're getting it. And it's almost funny. I think it's in one of my books. After you've had a conversation with one of those youngsters and you ask them, so do you understand? No, Chief. You're like the stupidest guy. I have no idea what. No, they're not gonna. They're just gonna nod and smile, and inside they're saying, "What the hell did he just say? I have no idea."
Right.
You lost it. So you got to be careful. I think. Listen to them. What do they know? And then, you're right, as you paint that picture, what does that what I'm saying look like to them? You don't really know.
Right.
None of
Right.
us really knows, but is it close to what I'm trying to get them to understand and to see? And then
Right.
and there again, even just doing that, I think you're building the word that you use is rapport, trust. That if I don't understand, at least I can go to the chief and he'll try again.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
and I think people, I was interviewing someone sometime during the week, and one of the things that, it was a colonel, and she said, what was interesting, chief, is that when I got out to talk to people, some of them even told me that they didn't realize that I was just a person like anybody else.
Mm,
And
that's true.
that's true.
Oh, yes.
That's true. Now I don't know how the youngsters see chiefs anymore, but I remember when I was a youngster, one tribe, one or two. Well, I never had just one, two or three striper. Seeing a chief, they were like gods at the time.
Mm.
Not so much anymore, I don't think. But nonetheless, wow, the chief came in and said hello, and that was a big thing in those days. So for the chief to do that was I felt again, I felt like I could do what I needed to do. Chief's got my back. I need help.
Right.
I need the resources. I need time. Whatever it is, the chief's got my back because I saw him.
Absolutely.
And in those days, it was mostly men. I don't know. I don't remember any female chiefs. But now, of course, there are plenty of them. So
yes.
Yeah, it's all. It really is all about. And we say leaders lead people. Chief, that's not true. Leaders lead persons. Effective leaders lead persons. You either know a lot about that person or not. And that's what you said at the beginning. And not a lot. You know enough probably to get in trouble, but about their family. What are your goals, man? We'd probably be surprised if we knew what our people's goals are. Some of them is like, wow. I was watching America's Got Talent just last night, and a young man who came up and sang was one of my students. He went through the Air Force Academy and graduated, did 5 years and got out, and now he's a singer and all that stuff. And I'm thinking, whoa, I didn't even know he could sing. I would have put him to work singing the anthem instead of some of the people that sang the anthem. But anyway, you would be surprised, about what kind of talents and there again, if you don't ask them, you won't know.
That's true.
I don't know. When you came in, did you my recruiter said, don't volunteer for anything. And that was the stupidest advice I ever got.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
I grew pretty quickly. No, I'll do it. Give me a chance, coach. Let me.
That's it.
So it's. And that's I think most, if not all, youngsters want that opportunity. That's why they came into the Air Force.
Right. Absolutely. No, that's still a thing. That recruiter tells you don't volunteer for anything, and got off that bus on that cold day on January 15th, 2002, and the TI comes out. Does anybody around here have any type of musical inclination? I played 7 different musical instruments in band, sir. 7 different. So of course I take pride in that, and I raise my hand. I'm like, oh, I got this. Oh, it's got my name written all over it, right?
Yeah.
But what you found is that can-do attitude bled from the day that I joined basic training all the way up to now present day as a chief. It still sits on the inside of me. If I have the ability to do, I will do. And that's you probably hear a lot of people define it as the all-in approach, right? I am all in. If I have the ability to do it, I can do it. Now, granted, there's going to be some folks that their abilities may not necessarily be a full spectrum or a full array of things. But if you hit them on the head with that one thing that they're good with, they are all in, and they will make sure they execute it to the fullest extent possible. And when people can continue to tap into their own potential, and at the same time also be able to tap into the potential that they didn't know they even had on the inside of them, but someone took the opportunity to find it for them, that's when you start seeing growth. That's when you start seeing some real leaders being developed across our Air Force. So it makes a difference. Yep. It does.
Yep. And I call that air power, HEIR.
Air power.
Pass it on. Pass it on.
With the H, with the air power, baby. Yes. Oh, yeah.
I love it. We should write a book.
Let's do it.
Today, I don't know, today is the 13th of June, Friday the 13th, where I am. It's funny that we're in 2 different days. Time is weird. But anyway, we started talking about this, and the master sergeant list just came out yesterday, today. I don't know,
Yeah.
wherever we are, within the last 48 hours, I think.
Yeah. I believe it came out last week. The list, the public release came out last Thursday, I believe it was.
Okay, okay, something like
Yeah.
that. Time is relative, man. When you retire, you'll
Oh,
understand. I do not
yeah.
know what day it is. I had to look at the calendar. So, but then my lovely bride will tell me what day it is pretty quickly. But
There it
anyway,
is.
let's since the master sergeant list came out, let's write a book for master sergeants.
Okay.
Let's teach them how to do it, at least
Okay.
based on what we know, and we'll have some fun with that. And I think they can use some of the old guys' experience with some of the young guys' experience, and
No,
we'll put this
absolutely.
together. So let's give each other we'll give ourselves a year, and we'll have that published by next year at this time, if not sooner.
Oh, that 100% sounds like a plan. I mean, whatever it's worth, whatever I have on the inside of me, and whatever sage advice I can put inside that book, I'm willing to invest. You can count on me.
All
I'm
right,
in there.
sounds good. Now I may have to yell at you because you got to respect me. You know, if I got
Hey,
I'm momming them now.
hey. In your heart of hearts and all the words that you could possibly yell at me, I know what you truly mean on the inside. Okay. And yes, you have my attention.
All right,
You'll have
sounds
my
good.
attention.
Sounds good. Well, Baby Chief Master Sergeant Henry McRoberts, thank you, man, for taking the time to be on the program. God bless you out there. Crazy stuff is happening, and it's always been crazy, I suppose. But
Absolutely.
you stay safe, keep your troops safe, and your family's with you, right?
No. So the family dynamics is a little bit different. So my wife Tisha, my bride of 23 years, will be 23 years in July. She's currently in San Antonio working at AFPC. My daughter Brianna is on her summer break, about to roll into her senior year of college out at Prairie View A&M University. My son is currently out here with me right now, and we're getting ready to get him back to the States so that he can go ahead and start exerting his independence. So we're super excited about that. So borderline empty nesting and just making things happen. Team McRoberts is out here making it happen. We're doing it.
Yep. Well, God bless you all, man. And the good thing is that we have technology to keep us close, not as close as we'd like, but close, and that's good enough.
Absolutely. And thanks again for the opportunity. I really appreciate it, brother.
It's my pleasure, man. And we'll stay in touch.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, and God bless you.
God bless.